During an undefined time in the future, the creation of new devices that can directly interact with and control biological functions has become the standard of living as a result of considerable breakthroughs in biotechnology. Humanity has also undergone a number of unidentified biological changes concurrently. For the vast majority of people, the most significant of these changes is the disappearance of physical pain and infectious disease, which makes it possible to perform surgery on conscious patients in typical settings without risk. The movie opens up with a little 8-year-old boy named Brecken playing at the beach with the materials deposited by the sea waves. His mother, Dejuna, watches over him from the balcony of the house and tells him not to eat anything he finds at the shore. Later, after playing, Brecken returns home and enters the washroom to freshen himself up. He brushes his teeth, and after that, he sits on the floor and starts eating the plastic dustbin that's kept there. Without any trouble, Brecken chews the plastic and continues eating it. Dejana notices him doing so, but doesn't say anything to stop him. That night, Dejana accompanies Brecken to bed. To everyone's surprise, after the little boy is asleep, Dejana slowly approaches him, holding a pillow, and puts it over his face. Brecken shouts for help, but Dejana presses the pillow hard and suffocates him to death. While doing this, she does not show a single sign of guilt or remorse. Following this, Dejana sits on the toilet seat and calls her ex-husband Lang and informs him that she killed Brecken. She also tells him that she never considered him their son, but a monster, and asks him to come pick up his dead body. After putting down the phone receiver, Dejana starts crying loudly. Later that night, Lang arrives at the house, but does not find Dejana anywhere inside. Soon, he discovers the dead body of Brecken and cries, mourning over the death of his only child. The scene then shifts to another place, where a person named Saul is sleeping in a cocoon-like chamber, supported by several contraptions. As Saul is suffering from a rare evolutionary disease, the condition leaves him in continual agony and with significant respiratory and intestinal difficulties. To cope with this, Saul needs a cocoon-like bed, which helps him minimize the pain, and also sits on a chair which twitches and spins in order to help him eat. While Saul is sleeping, his girlfriend, Caprice, enters his room and wakes him up. Saul complains that his machine bed is not working as he struggles to sleep all night long. Caprice tells him about the test results they performed recently. She reveals to him that the results show that Sal is developing a new organ inside of his body, and because of it, he is facing troubles. She then inserts a black tube inside his stomach and observes the new organ. Caprice tells him that she cannot exactly figure out the organ, but it seems similar to an adrenal gland. Afterward, Caprice takes Saul to the National Organ Registry to trademark his new organ. Inside, they meet the head of the department, Whippet, and his assistant, Timlin. Whippet assures him that after the complete development of the newly grown organ, Saul will feel no pain in his body. Later, Whippet and Timlin strap Saul to a chair and begin investigating his new organ. They also leave a mark on it for the purpose of tracking the changes in the person and its effects. Caprice tries to film the entire process with a camera attached to her ring, but Timlin stops her from doing so. After the procedure is completed, Saul and Caprice leave, but not before inviting Timlin and Whippet to their upcoming art performance. In the following scene, 2 technicians from the manufacturer of Saul's advanced bed and chair company arrive at his house to repair his bed. During their shift, they inspect other advanced machines present in their house and come across an advanced autopsy unit. The female technician realizes that the autopsy unit is an old one and that the company has stopped manufacturing it. They then inquire about the machine with Caprice, and she reveals that it's the same machine on which she performs her art with Saul. The scene then fast-forwards to the day of the art performance, in which Saul is sleeping inside the autopsy unit and Caprice is dressed in a dark red dress, equipped with some buttons under her chest. The buttons actually control the arms of the autopsy machine while performing surgery on Saul. They are surrounded by a huge crowd, including Whippet and Timlin. Caprice controls the machine with the help of the buttons and cuts through Saul to expose his newly grown organ. During all of this, rather than screaming in pain, Saul can be seen enjoying the process and feeling pleasure. Surprisingly, Lang is also in the audience, watching the show and eating a dark chocolate bar. After the successful performance, while Saul and Caprice are resting and conversing, Timlin approaches Saul and tells him that he's really impressed with his performance and that she felt aroused watching him. Saul replies to her that he is happy to make her feel that way. Caprice is looking at this from the other side and feeling angry at Timlin for coming inappropriately closer to Saul. Meanwhile, a man from the audience eats the chocolate bar left by Lang and instantly chokes to death. The next day, Timlin and Whippet are questioned by Detective Cope about the case of Saul. Detective Cope actually works for the government and is investigating the individuals who are trying to modify their organs. Timlin defends Saul by telling him that Saul uses his newly grown organs for his performance, and Caprice extracts them during their act. Meanwhile, Saul attends a show by a performance artist who has grown ears all around his body. After the show, as Saul is leaving the performance theater, Lang confronts him and asks him to conduct a show where he and Caprice can use his son's body to perform an autopsy. He also assures them that they will surely find something unusual in his body. Saul hears Lang out and walks away after telling him he needs some time to think and make a decision. Later, Saul reaches home and converses with Caprice about the idea suggested by Lang. Caprice agrees, but mentions they need to modify their autopsy to perform the act. After this, Caprice lies inside the machine and checks the parts that need to be modified. At night, Saul sneaks out of the house and meets Detective Cope. It is then revealed that he works for Cope to find out the individuals performing body modifications illegally. Saul informs Cope that he is asked to visit a cosmetic surgeon, and Cope gives him permission to follow the lead. The following day, the previous two female technicians visit Saul's residence and start modifying the autopsy unit as instructed by Caprice. In the meantime, Saul visits a cosmetic surgeon who suggests he install a zipper in his stomach to display the vestigial organ to the audience whenever required. After the surgery, Saul returns home and shows his newly installed zipper to Caprice. She is so impressed by the zipper that she kneels down and starts licking it, pleasuring Saul. In the next scene, Saul visits the prison and meets Dujana to ask her about her son Brecken. Dujana tells him that her son was not a normal human being, but a monster, and that he used to eat plastic with ease. She also reveals that he was created deliberately by his father, Lang, who belongs to a revolutionary group whose members have tweaked their internal organs. On the other hand, Lang enters a factory-like warehouse where his friends are working hard to prepare chocolate from plastics and other toxic waste. Here, we get to know the man who died in the bar was killed by consuming toxic waste. Lang then talks to his colleague and tells him that he will soon let the public know about his son's unique ability to digest plastic. The next day, Caprice attends an art show where a female cuts and makes scars on her face. Caprice is really impressed by the scars and the elegance of creating them. Later, she is approached by the performing lady and is invited to make modifications to her face, and Caprice agrees. Afterward, Caprice returns home with a scar modification to her forehead, and Sal seems to like it. She tells Sal that she wants to lead the autopsy they are going to perform on Brecken, and he agrees to let her do it. Later that day, Saul and Caprice meet with Lang at his home and also take a look at Brecken's dead body. After peeking at the body, Caprice is anxious about performing the autopsy shown in public, but Lang makes it clear that he wants to make a statement to the public to stop the government from hunting down evolutionists. Lang also speaks about Sal's feeding problem and provides him with a candy bar as a solution. Sal does not eat the candy bar, but inquires with Lang about his group. Trusting them, Lang reveals to him how the group members modified their digestive systems to be able to consume and digest plastic. He also tells them that his son, Brecken, is the only one who was born with a natural digestive system capable of absorbing the nutrients out of plastic. With the hope of discovering something amazing inside Brecken's body, Caprice agrees to perform the surgery. In the next scene, Caprice is ready to perform the autopsy in public, with Brecken lying inside their autopsy unit. She conducts the autopsy while Timlin, Lang, and several other people are watching from the audience. Unfortunately, after cutting Brecken's body open, she discovers that he has a normal digestive system like humans, and that his native system has been surgically changed. Lang is shocked to witness this, as his plans of making a public statement have failed miserably. He then leaves the performance room and walks out crying. The two technicians, who purport to represent the company that makes Saul's biomedical devices, follow Lang outside. They also seem to work for the government, as they murder Lang by ramming power drills into his brain. After the show, Saul meets with Cope and asks him who changed Brecken's internal organs. Cope says that he did, and reveals that Brecken actually had a digestive system that could digest plastic. He also mentions that the government doesn't want people to know about the evolution of humans, so with the help of Timlin, he altered Brecken's digestive system with a normal one. Here, Saul understands the mission of Lang's revolutionary group and why they wanted to go against the government to make a public statement. Hence, he refuses to continue working for Cope and walks away. The next day, Saul struggles to feed himself, despite sitting on his feeding chair. Annoyed, he decides to try one of the candy bars that Lang provided him before. Caprice finds the candy bar for him and tears the package. Saul takes a bite of the bar, and as soon as he swallows the first bite, he stops moving, signaling that he is feeling no more pain while eating. He then looks into Caprice's eyes, passes a smile, and sheds a tear. This means that Saul's body has also evolved much to be able to digest the candy bars made out of toxic waste. The movie ends with Saul sitting on the chair, which has stopped moving. If you enjoyed this movie recap, make sure to hit the like button. And if you want to see more of these, subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos.